Right, all you Streetlight Crusaders? DJ Smokey here, host of a multitude of shows. You may have heard me from Under the Radar, Music Village, the Indy Radio Arcade, but most importantly, the Tuesday Night Special, a show that we've been asked a question on a multitude of occasions. If you could name it the Tuesday Night Special, what would you name it? And we've went through many different ideas in the past, and none of them stick. And one of them almost got us in trouble, because we didn't know somebody had a show called Midnight Radio, so we had to throw that out. But there was one idea that we stuck with and was going to bring to the airwaves this time last year. But unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond our control, that footage never hit the light of day. But luckily for you fans at home, for tonight, to kick off this month of Fools, we decided to give you what you want. We decided to release the footage of the never before aired show known as the Moonlight Special. So without any further ado, Carl and the Maestro, if you will, please hit that cassette play button on the side over there and roll the footage to give to these fans out there a show like they've never heard before. Yeah, on a cassette, right over there in the corner. Yeah, just wipe the dust off it and hit the play button. Yeah, go for it. Enjoy. Hey, baby, cool cats and everybody else around the world. This is Mikey K from 101.5, The Disco Hawk, here to bring you a show straight from Twilight Studios itself. The one, the only Moonlight Special. And here to host the show for you tonight, flanked alongside with Carl and the Maestro, Dan the Weatherman Stu, and special guest musical host, none other than Dragon Spit straight from the UK. Here he is, the man with the plan, DJ Smokey. Take it away. Right, all you up-all-nighters, late-night drivers, and insomniac TV watchers from around the world, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Moonlight Special. I am your insomniac host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, bringing you the best for the North, South, East, and West that the world of music, games, and wrestling has to offer. And man, oh man, what a night to be under the moonlights. Here with Carl and the Maestro, Dan the Weatherman Stu, and everybody else here in Studio A, a part of the Twilight Studios we're here to present this show for. But tonight's show will be a special one, which will feature not only a very special puppet-tastic crank-calling edition of the As Seen on TV, and according to Carl and the Maestro, yes, it's crank-calling with puppets. Not bad. Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out some cool video game hits, clips, as well as games from the world of Indycade for another edition of the Indycade Triple S Deluxe. Then we find out what sort of weather we can expect for this week and what in the world the spring's gonna bring to us for another edition of the weather update. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, Dan the Weatherman Stu, dressed to the nines for this one in a golden suit. Nice! Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before Dragon Spit closes us out for the night with their cool song Dragon Attack, we wrap up this show yet another edition of the Indy Report, which is me giving you guys two news stories followed up by local concert information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and get ready to bring some fun and delight under the big, bright moonlight for another edition of the Moonlight Special. Let's get this Moonlight show started, folks. All right, all you Insomniatic TV channel surfers out there tonight, welcome back to the Moonlight Special. And now it's time for us to go into another Insomniatic channel surfing edition of the As Seen on TV, and the show we have up on the plate to kick off our celebration of Comedy Central goes to none other than Crank Yankers. The show Carl and the Maestro told me maybe not a great idea to have on the show for tonight, but we said, why not? Why not? And the meat and potatoes of this said show would feature several different people trying to get calls about complaints about other things that would take place during this said show. It's the best meat and potatoes we could come up with for this show of absolute insanity where celebrities decide to crank call other people on phone lines. It's the best meat and potatoes we also could say about this show according to Carl and the Maestro. And with that being said, folks, what did I love about this show? Well, right off the bat, the fact that this show featured so many different people from other shows from Comedy Central. It's absolutely hilarious, including none other than, according to Carl and the Maestro, they don't know if they should start with the puppets or the puppeteers. We might as well start with the puppeteers, or the puppets, which would be none other than Karl Malone, voiced by none other than Jimmy Kimmel, not only the host of Jimmy Kimmel Live, but a longtime host of The Man Show, who also did a Karl Malone impersonation during that show as well, too. Gladys Murphy, played by Wanda Sykes, which Wanda Sykes not only featured during Wanda at Large, but also was featured in Adventures of Old Christine, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and even The Marvelous Miss Maisel, and was even a part of a show short-lived known as Wanda at Large. Next up on the plate, you have none other than Niall Standish, who was voiced by none other than Tony Barbary, or Barbary? According to Carl and the Maestro, we were right with the second one, but he would also be featured a part of The Man Show and was a part of That's 80s show that was short-lived, as well as being a part of the sitcom show as a writer for That's My Bush. Not bad. Then next up on the plate, you have none other than the ever-controversial, according to some and most, of Special Ed that was voiced by Jim Florentine. And Jim Florentine not only being a part of the That Metal show on VH1, but would also be none other than Bobby Fletcher as well, a part of Crank Yankers, and would even host his own show on Sirius XM Satellite of the Jim Florentine Show. Not bad. Then next up on the plate, you would have none other, and according to Carl and the Maestro, Dick Bertram, and yes, that's a real name of a character a part of this show, played by none other than Adam Carolla, the partner in crime of none other than Jimmy Kimmel, who was not only an executive producer behind this show, but would also be a part of The Man Show as well, too. And according to Carl and the Maestro, would even be a part of his home improvement show, a part of Spike TV, and of course would also be a part of, apparently according to Carl and the Maestro, a part of Loveline. Nice, nice. Then next up on the plate, you have none other than, and get this, folks, none other than Susie Essman, who would also be a part of this show, but would also be a part of other great shows such as Joy Behar, who was a part on HBO, and was also a guest on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and was a part of the HBO show that we completely forgot to mention called One Night Stand. Then, next up on the list, you have none other than the legend himself, David Alan Grier, who would play Landius the Truth Truefield, a part of this show, but would also be responsible for being a part of one of the funniest shows a part of the 90s of In Living Color, as well as being a part of the show known as Martin, and was even a part of his own show, a part of Comedy Central, known as Chocolate News, but was also a part of the films of A Soldier's Story, Boomerang, Jumanji as the Funny Cop, Badass in 2003, Bewitched in 2005, and They Cloned Tyrone in 2023, as well as being a part of the staged version of The Color Purple. Then finally, last but not least, but Carl and Michael said we can mention a couple more, we would see Tracy Morgan also a part of this show, who would not only be a part of the remake of The Longest Yard, but would also be a part of several other cool projects, including the Uptown Comedy Club in '92. Nice! Next up after that, you would have none other than Sarah Silverman, who would not only be a part of Mr. Show as well as the VIP, and a part of Who's the Caboose, School of Rock, Take This Waltz, and A Million Ways to Die in the West, as well as the Battle of the Sexes, and also would play none other than Vanellope von Schweetz, a part of Wreck-It Ralph and the sequel that took place 6 years later. And before I could possibly forget, folks, she was also a part of her own show known as the Sarah Silverman Program. I always thought it was the Sarah Silverman show, but according to Carl and the Maestro, we were right with that first one. And some honorable mentions also a part of this show would not only see Bob Lindstein, Patton Oswalt, Dane Cook, Kevin Nielsen, Fred Armisen, as well as none other than Seth MacFarlane himself, the creator of Family Guy. Hence the reason why we had to mention the entire list of people involved with this show, including the Puppeteers, who would see none other than Victor Yared, who was a part of this show as a puppeteer, but also would see none other than, and according to Carl and Maestro, nudged me on the shoulder for me not mentioning the fact that he was a part of Sid the Science Kid for 94 episodes as Gerald and Dad, as well as playing Kermit the Frog and Boo Boo, a part of 18 episodes of Robot Chicken, and even a part of the Dark Crystal TV series as the Ritual Master for 10 episodes. Then you have Paul McGinnis, who would not only be a part of the Muppets film, as well as a puppeteer, a part of Crank Yankers for 114 episodes, but would also be a part of the classic PBS show of Puppeteer of Between the Lions. Awesome show, I may add. And would also be a part of the Muppets in the Kitchen that was featured in 2010. Not bad. And finally, last but not least, since we cannot be here all night mentioning every puppeteer, we would see Artie Esposito, who was a part of this show as well too, but was a part of the film of the Happy Time Murders in 2018, the Five Nights at Freddy's live-action film, as well as being a part of the Jungle Book with animal noises, and also a part of the TV series of Ketchup with the Hot Dogs for 5 episodes. Now, my favorite episodes that was always featured during this show would have to be the ones featuring Wanda Sykes. Now, the reason why is because somebody during one of the episodes, as she would say over the phone, would take a dump in the back of one of her rental cars, and for her to accuse the shop owner by saying, well, it sounds like you might have done it because I had a feeling you did it with your fat ass. His words, not mine, before the FCC comes after me for that line. Oh, man. But nevertheless, folks, seeing the fact that this show would originally come out in June 2nd of 2002, and unfortunately would come to an end that again as of February 9th of 2007, only for an episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live to announce that they're bringing this show back to life for a 5th season that would kick this show back up as of February 11th of 2019, for this show to finally come to an end as of August 3rd of 2022. And having well over 110 episodes for this show, and seeing the fact that we don't know how to review this show along the lines of TV Guide or any of those other reviewers that you know of out there, we say this. If you guys want to go ahead and watch a show that features a bunch of celebrities pulling off pranks on real-life people in a scenario controlled by puppets, making them puppets in a way, shape, or form, the people that are getting pranked, that is, then I recommend you go out there, pick up your TV channel remotes, and watch that show. And be amazed at the fact that that celebrity list we read off was a lot bigger than I previously mentioned, because I forgot to mention that Biz Markie was the announcer part of this show too. Yikes! And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again, and when we return, we'll be back with more of that Twinkle in the Sky show known as the Moonlight Special right after this. So don't go anywhere just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Alright, all you insomniatic wrestling fans who are still up for tonight, welcome back to the Moonlight Special. And now it's time for us to talk about what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from London, England. Home of the band that's going to be performing later on tonight, folks, known as Dragon Spit. Nice. And I still can't believe Carl and the Maestro was able to land them on the show. You know, they're very hard to get, especially with those international calls we had to make to get them. But besides the international phone bill that we're going to see on the bill by next week of how much it actually costs to get them here, Monday Night Raw would kick off with polarizing chants of "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks," and of course showing John Cena making his way to the ring, getting a parade of boos like he's been getting throughout this entire European tour. And before he could even say a single word, Cody Rhodes would make his way to the ring with the fans singing his song, and for John Cena to just look on in disgust. And for Cody Rhodes to come out and say, "Oh, you're gonna try to cook me, aren't you? Because I've been anticipating that for the longest. So I'll give you a list of things that I got a feeling you can make fun of me for. What about Stardust? Oh, or maybe the tattoo on my neck, or getting booed from a company I helped build, or even the lisp that I have. You have all this ammunition. But I know the reason why in the world you are out here. Why don't you explain to the fans why in the world you don't like them anymore? Give them the real reason." Only for John Cena to pick up the microphone and immediately say that he's not going to punch down to his level, and he's going to say that he's not going to cook him. He's going to bury him. And like the people usually say on the internet, as he buries every single wrestler he gets in the ring with, but he said he doesn't bury talent, he is the talent. And who he actually buries is mediocrity. And would say that Cody Rhodes manipulated his way to the top and his ego outweighs his actual abilities. And the only reason he's really pissed off is not only because of the fact that he rides his coattails of his success, John Cena, talking about Cody Rhodes in this case, but would also call him a chauffeur and would say that he'd spent years riding around with him, stealing the blueprint of success and would call him too perfect and too polished and sound like he rehearsed and required them to sing your song to get by. And would even go on further by saying, you don't look like me, you don't act like me, you sure as hell don't work like me, but at the same time, you don't look like yourself, act like yourself, or even look like anything like what you originally did, because now you look like a big confused blob. And would go on further by saying that he worked too hard to have the symbol of excellence that's on your shoulder paraded around by a paint-by-numbers Metro baby that's so into himself that he had to get his wrestling gimmick tattooed for the world to see. But luckily at WrestleMania, he's gonna be the last champion, and since you wanna be a fan all the time, you can go outward to Access and grab yourself a toy championship and call yourself a champion. Only for Cody Rhodes to immediately get on the microphone afterwards by saying, you know what, Cena might be right, but the words that he decided to choose, or the fact that the fans decided to choose me, but didn't choose somebody who's a man in the office, or more or less bring up Vince McMahon. Somebody that they said they couldn't bring up on the microphone, but saying that the fans chose him while he got chose by, well, Vince, which I think is more true than most. And Cody Rhodes going a little bit further and testing out the censors by saying that he's got more dick in that promo than he did in his jorts, and would say, why don't you answer this question? Which one of us sold out to The Rock? And would say that you're still my hero, but at the same time, you're still a piece of shit. Once again, testing the censors out for the night. Only for John Cena to say that he was never protected by anybody around here from all the booze and the negativity he's received over the years, and no one has ever been worthy to put him in the ground, so he decided to do it himself. And would say his best couldn't wipe his own ass, and at the same time would say that he made empires for billionaires and all he could do was steal money from their kids. Only for Cody Rhodes to say that at least when I was in the ring, they never chanted, "You can't wrestle." For that to strike a very dangerous chord in John Cena for him to make his way back in the ring, immediately leave, try to take a cheap shot and get hit with a crossroads in the center of the ring by Cody Rhodes, wearing a pinstripe suit nonetheless, and something we should have mentioned right off the bat. But after that back and forth quip on the microphone with John Cena, the first match to take place on Monday Night Raw, and speaking of people getting on the microphone, would see the New Day going one-on-one against a mysterious team. And we'll reveal it in just a second, folks, because New Day would tell everybody in the arena to shut up and realize them for their greatness. For the fans to immediately go into a shut the F up chant for them, and for Kofi Kingston to say, how dare you? And how dare Adam Pearce thinks we haven't earned enough to earn a title shot at WrestleMania? And would say that everybody needs to get on their hands and knees and thank God for the New Day for it to immediately get cut off with a commercial. Only for Adam Pearce to come out there and say, you will earn that title match by fighting these men here, which would be none other than Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate of the New Catch Republic. And this would be the first match back for Tyler Bate since last July, being on the shelf for 9 months due to a torn pectoral muscle. Ouch! And how would their first time back inside the ring fare? Well, outside of Pete Dunne taking a brunt of the damage with not only a unicorn stampede for a near fall, an assisted body slam for a near fall, even an axe-handled smash and a senton to none other than Pete Dunne once again, still for a near fall, they would finally get things rolling rolling during this match by not only pulling off a beautiful exploder suplex and an airplane spin, followed by a boot enziguri combination and a German suplex clothesline combination, only for that to be broken up by Xavier Woods for a near fall. But ultimately, this match would come to an emphatic end after a rake of the eyes to Pete Dunne and a breakup of whatever combination move that Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne was gonna pull off, for they break the strike on Pete Dunne for this match to be done in favor of the New Day via pinfall. And after the match was over, and after an after-the-match interview, and with them saying that they're owed a title match, the War Raiders will come out and say, come and take it, come and get it. For them to get in a back and forth argument for us to go backstage to see Jay talking to his brother Jimmy. And Jay saying that he wanted to be out there for his brother, but his brother's saying that, no, you stay back here and watch what I'm gonna do to Gunther, because I'm gonna beat him tonight. You're gonna beat him at WrestleMania, and we're gonna prove that this man is mortal. But yeah, during this match, or before this match can even take place, Ludwig Kaiser, which I find ironic, would come out there and say that he's gonna take matters into his own hands, seeing the fact that the WrestleMania card is starting to shape up and his name is not on the list. Well, you lost to Penta, and you haven't done anything to earn it, but apparently still, you're the Kaiser. Woo! But besides that point, folks, the match that would take place would see none other than Jimmy Uso going one-on-one against the ring general, Gunther. Now, during this match, in the opening contest, we would see Jimmy actually looking good, pulling off a superplex and an Uso splash for a near fall. But once things got to the outside of the ring, things got really ugly, with not only a chop to the spinal cord and an apron shot right into the said ring apron, as well as a lariat leading to an 8 count, but also not only a big boot and a lariat to the face that doesn't end the match, a T-Rex dropkick and a powerbomb for Gunther, still not to end the match. But finally, to really end this match and seal the deal for Big Jim, would be a chop to the spine once again and a sleeper hold for this match to finally end via submission. And after the match was over, Gunther, to truly prove his point and get revenge for a slap to the face, would decide to lock in a chokehold once again on him for Jay to come out, make his way to the ring, do a double leg takedown and try to beat the brakes right off of Gunther, sending him packing. And during the said commercial break, for those who didn't see it on Netflix, would see Jay trying to help Jimmy up to his feet and take him to the bag for fans to give an applause. But at the same time, the crowd would start to roar as they would see the ring general make his way back to the ring, throw Jay into the stairs, powerbomb a security guard, gouge the eyes of Jay, and zip tie him to the said ring. And at the same time, while tied to the bottom rope, he would bear witness to not only Jimmy getting hit with the title and being left a bloody mess, but then not even a couple of inches away from his own brother, watching him getting elbowed in the side of the head and then hit with a sleeper hold for Jay to say, "I'ma kill you," and then try to reach and grab for him, which I'm surprised no security guard out there had scissors or anything to clip off those zip ties to get him out of there, and would just watch onward as Gunther would choke the life out of him for security to finally show up, and then for Gunther to send his message by not only wiping the blood of Jimmy on his chest and tasting it too, which we got out of order according to Call of the Maestro, but at the same time what he did was, as what some people would call, out of pocket. And at the same time, I got a feeling Jay, the next time he sees him, is gonna beat the daylights out of him. Mark my words. Mark my words. And after that horrifying display of violence that actually included a powerbomb we almost forgot to mention, meanwhile on SmackDown, we would see a contract signing between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. And much to Punk's surprise, it was found out before he signed that contract that this match would be the main event of night 1 for WrestleMania. So winning the Royal Rumble don't mean a thing, huh? I'm just trying to get that together, right? Just winning the Royal Rumble match doesn't mean anything, so it's not the main event. Anyway, outside of that complaint we'll make later on in life, Seth Rollins would be pissed off beyond all recognition, saying that being in the main event of WrestleMania is to be earned. He didn't deserve it. You stop crying. You didn't earn a thing. For CM Punk to say that, yeah, thank you to the fans who've chanted my name all these years, and thank you, Big Dog, Tribal Chief, or whatever you like to be called, but that was not the favor I was owed. Drop the mic and leave. Pissing off not only Seth Rollins, but Roman Reigns as well. And to bring us back to said Monday Night Raw, the next match to take place would see none other than Penta teaming up with Braun Breaker to fight against Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. And with Finn Balor in a better mood than he was last week, and to quote Michael Cole, acting like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is, yeah, I can see it. I can see it. But will this good mood lead to a victory? Well, during this match where we would see Penta hitting Finn with a crossbody for a near fall, we would see Finn Balor coming back with a move we call the dagger, which in reality is the Eye of the Hurricane by the Hurricane for a near fall. Only for Braun Breaker to come back into this match with not only a double suplex to both Judgment Day members and a nasty clothesline followed up by a very cool looking Doomsday Device style sling blade and reverse for a near fall. Only for things to sour between the two because of a reversal of a Penta said Mexican destroyer, leading to the said Mexican to get destroyed with a hellacious spear. For Finn Balor to pick up the pieces, hit a coup de grace, and win this match via pinfall. And after the match was over, after being called "you stupid" by Penta to Braun Breaker in the Judgment Day camp, Finn Balor would believe that he's now on a roll in a hot streak and that he did all this stuff, that he deserves a shot for the Intercontinental Championship or a match at WrestleMania. Only for Liv Morgan to pull back Dominic and say, he said it like he did all that by himself. But I think you've earned a match too because you went up against Penta and you didn't lose either. Or he didn't lose against Braun Breaker. I keep forgetting that part of the programming. And for Liv Morgan to pull what Michael Cole calls a Yoko Ono move in that one situation. And I got a feeling Finn's gonna be pissed about it. But outside of that, and meanwhile inside of Adam Pearce's office, we would see Chad Gable still talking about El Gran Americano and how cool he was in his debut, but he's still sick. Only for Adam Pearce to tell him, you know what? Next week, Monday Night Raw, it's gonna be in your hometown of Minneapolis. And you're not gonna be able to compete because of this doctor's note. But I tell you who will, El Gran Americano. Which would piss off Chad Gable for him to run into the Alphas, for him to berate them, and I'm surprised that Otis didn't slap the daylights out of him for it. But outside of that, we would see the Alphas talking about their tag team future, as well as Maxine looking to team with Natalya. Hopefully that goes well. But outside of that thing that's gonna go well or not, we would see from the Herald of Doomsday once again puppeteering the situation, saying that his favorite bad guy is AJ Styles, and he wonders what type of AJ Styles is Logan Paul gonna get tonight, seeing the fact that he called him out. For AJ Styles to immediately come out and not wait for Logan Paul, and for say that he's tired of waiting for him and wants him to come out right now. Only for Logan Paul to come out to say that he's a global phenomenon, that he's rich, and if he wants to make the people wait, you will wait. And would say that, you know what, now that I'm a dad, and I'm a girl dad, I'm gonna forgive you. I'm gonna teach my daughter right. I'm gonna forgive you for what you did in the garden, and don't do it again. Only for AJ to forgive him for being the biggest douchebag that's ever stepped in the ring. And would then say that these fans don't care about your money or fame. They're caring only about what you're willing to sacrifice inside of this ring. And AJ Styles say, don't write a check that your ass can't cash, for Logan Paul to say, is that a threat? And then for AJ Styles to say, you know what? I'm in my wrestling gear. I'm out here. What do you think? Only for Logan Paul to say that he's a prize fighter and he only fights for the big money. And I think you need to aim a little bit higher. And would point up to the WrestleMania sign and would try to take a cheap shot for AJ Styles to be all over him like white on rice and beat the daylights out of him outside of the ring. But unfortunately, after talking to Pat McAfee and, of course, Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, who was there tonight in London, unfortunately, Logan Paul would take advantage, hit him against the ropes, giving him a little bit of a low blow, or a Jimmy tap, as some may call it, and then immediately decide to hit the pulverizer to make the match official at WrestleMania, none other than the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, going one-on-one against Logan Paul. And I got a feeling this is going to be a sleeper match on the scale of what happened between Shane McMahon and AJ Styles at WrestleMania 33. I got a feeling it's going to be a very excellent match to see on the grand stage. But outside of that match announcement made on Twitter by Adam Pearce, we would hear from Laya Valkyria after what Bayley did last week. She's earned a title shot, and she's gonna get one next week when Raw goes to Minneapolis. And speaking of title fights, folks, the next match we've got up is our main event of the evening, which would see none other than Io Sky going one-on-one against Rhea Ripley. And Bianca Belair as the special guest referee who would make her own ring gear outfit for the referee match. Very impressive. But how would she fare as a referee compared to her seamstress skills? Well, during this match, when a back-and-forth pin war would take place to kick things off, Bianca counted it fair. Basement drop kick for a near fall by Rhea. Still counted it fair down the middle. A drop toe hold and a drop kick to the spinal cord by Io for a near fall. Still a fair count. Wheelbarrow slam that took place during the commercial break. Still a fair count for a count of 2. Even seeing an avalanche crucifix bomb by Io that I almost thought was a Samoan drop thanks to the trick by the cameras. Still a near fall. Hairbutt countered out of a crossbody by Rhea. Near fall. Hey yo! Razor's Edge, near fall for Rhea. Even seeing a roll-up counter out of the Riptide, still a near fall. But ultimately, this match would definitely go a little bit south for Rhea because after an accidental boot to the face of Bianca Belair, referee would be outside of the ring as we would see a capoeira kick leading into a Riptide for a count of 13. And Rhea backstage pissed off about that, but I got a feeling what would happen next, she would get pissed off a little bit more because Io would accidentally dropkick her in the face, Bianca Belair that is, leading to Io calling for a double disqualification for Io to retain the championship via disqualification in a no contest. And Rhea, after realizing that her chance to defend the championship on the grandest stage of them all went up in smoke thanks to Bianca being a referee, she would go ballistic and immediately take out Bianca Belair and then would see Io try to get involved with a moonsault to the outside of the ring. Then for Bianca to get taken out by Io, or Io trying to take out Bianca, for both of them to get taken out just as bad with a riptide to Io and an avalanche to Bianca Belair style riptide, for Bianca Belair and Io to look up at the lights and watch as Rhea Ripley holds the championship high to close out Monday Night Raw for this week. In a chaotic moment that I got a feeling Adam Pearce is going to have a lot of paperwork trying to figure out how to solve. But what's gonna happen next week when Raw goes back to the States? Are we gonna hear a whole bunch of what chants from the fans? Will we see the same passion from the fans as it was in the UK? Will Bayley be able to hold on to championship gold and make her way to WrestleMania? And what of Rhea Ripley? Will she keep interfering in other people's business and manage to insert herself into a championship match on that grand stage? And what of El Grande Americano? Will he shine in the States when he makes his in-state debut? We find out that and more next week for another Road to WrestleMania jam-packed edition of Monday Night Raw. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music, and when we return, we'll be back with more of that Twilight Delight and Streetlight Delight as the Moonlight Special rolls on right after this. So don't head downstairs for that pre or post midnight snack just yet, folks, and stay tuned. We're back with the Insomniatic show that's ran by Moonlight and gives a salute to shows that are almost 25 years old, only known as the Moonlight Special. Now, according to Carla the Maestro, who looked at my driver's license just a couple of seconds ago, weren't you too young when this show first came out? And as a little Cheshire cat grin on their face while asking that, and yes, I was. But it was on around the same time as the MTV music videos they used to show in the middle of the night. So I was clicking in between both of them and came across that show. So it was a good show to watch. A lot of fun. But besides my late night TV channel surfing habits, folks, I think it's time for us to go ahead and check out a couple of these video game hits and clips, as well as scratching that indie itch you've got from the world of IndieCade for another edition of the IndieCade Triple S Deluxe. And we kick things off with the art wall. And the art wall picture that we have up for this week comes from the developers Mid-Boss LLC with their said artwork for the video game of 2064 Read-Only Memories. And the artwork that they provided for this week shows our Dr. Fairlight. Find it funny on the Moonlight Special, we got a Dr. Fairlight here, looking at one of the patients saying that it was a bit much to handle at times, honestly, but I admired his passion for the subject. All while overlooking an apartment building with a cool-looking neon sign in Japanese in the background, and a plant outside of the window too. And with apparently some form of EKG machine and a scientist sitting in a fancy futuristic chair. Now, this automatically reminds me of, I would have to say The Outer Worlds with a little hint of Ghost in the Shell in there as well too. Now, here's hoping in the near future that the robot you're looking at right now with the blue screen, that you can get a chance to help it or it help you in any of the mysteries you have to solve. Because I got a feeling that's a mystery-solving robot. But besides that mystery-solving robot, folks, we now go into the sound wall for this week. And the sound we have up for this week comes from none other than Beardy with their said track of It's Cool in Here from the video game of Knuckle Sandwich. And when I close my eyes while listening into this sound, it automatically reminds me of the old show we used to host called Stock Boy, which involved some form of boy who used to stock shelves, who was a superhero who would save crime. And Carla the Maestro said, no, he fought criminals and prevented them from doing any sort of dastardly deeds with his price gun. Yeah, so technically he would save crime with prices. And Carl and the Maestro said, just no. Okay, but at the same time, that show only lasted one season because the guy who played him tried to jump through a plane glass window and cut himself to pieces. Yeah, he's all right now. Don't worry about it. But besides that act of foolishness, according to Carl and the Maestro, the next thing we head into is the Screenshot Saturday Showcase. And the Screenshot Saturday Showcase we have up for this week comes from none other than Piece of Cake Studios with their said screenshot from the video game of Dark Hours. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our hero, or villain in this case, using some form of cryptic device to open up a safe to try to get some form of jewel that's inside of the safe. And this automatically reminds me of a combination of not only Payday with a little hint of Splinter Cell? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it definitely reminds me of Splinter Cell because that device looks awfully familiar. And here's hoping in the near future for this game that not only you get a chance to play alongside with your friends to actually pull off a caper like this, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to upgrade your tech in the near future to help you take bigger scores in the future too. And according to Carl and my show, you can play with your friends, but the upgrade of the tech, not too entirely sure if you can do that. But they're hoping for it too, because I'm gonna need it. Yeah, you're right, because I always get caught in these situations. And with that said, folks, we now make our way on over to those indie games to scratch that indie itch you've got at home. And the first game we have up comes from Interactive Fiction with their said game of Ye Guild Clerk, Aquastica with their said game of Jump Step, Interactive Fiction with their said game of Arctic Requiem, and apparently according to Call of the Maestro, Matty G Star for that game, and the first one, the Chunky Penguin. Nice names, by the way. Next game we have up comes from Z92084 with their said game of City Running. I'm Mr. Burns Billionaire, Mr. Burns Billionaire with Pizza Tower Demo 1, Mr. Burns Demo. And finally, John Stone with their said game of Unity 2 PSX style horror game Phantasmal. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still making their way through that Indie Itch page to scratch that Indie Itch you've got at home, then you can go ahead and head on over to the itch.io page of one man only known as itch.io under the games section to check out all of those cool games for yourselves. And trust me, you'll be there for a while. It's got a million of them. They really do. And if you also want to go ahead and check out any other cool games featured a part of the art wall, sound wall, screenshot Saturday showcase, or even have your games featured over there as well, then you can go ahead and head on over to the indicate.tumblr page of one man only known as indicate.tumblr.com, or head on over to their said Facebook page known as Indicate, or even their Twitter, Flickr, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, Twitch, and even their SoundCloud and website that are all named the same, but it's just as critically acclaimed, only known as, you guessed it folks, Indicate. I guess with that said, we might as well head back to that music and continue to listen to these diamonds in the rough that'll shine bright under this bright moonlight, only here, right here, on the Moonlight Special. So don't fall asleep just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you streetlight crusaders, welcome back to the Moonlight Special. And Carl and the Maestro a little bit confused on why in the world we decided to change the name of the show. Well, we couldn't call this the Monday Night Special. We almost got sued for that. The Saturday Night Special was not gonna fly, and we didn't know what day this was gonna air, so we have to call it the Moonlight Special. And they said, why didn't we call it the Twilight Special? Some show in Sweden took that title too, so yeah, we were running out of names. But seeing the fact that we bought enough time for this man to make his way up the stairs with a suit that's so bright and golden, it's frightening. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than Dan the Weatherman Stu here to deliver the weather forecast for this week. Dan the Weatherman Stu, thank goodness I was wearing glasses, sunglasses that is, and the microphone is all yours. Hey! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world, it's your boy from Chicago, Illinois, Dan the Weatherman Stu here to be able to find out what a forecast for this week. And DJ Smokey, I made the posters like you asked. Wait, what? I didn't ask for no posters. What posters are you talking about? Well, DJ Smokey, I made a poster dedicated to the Moonlight Special to get the word out about the new show. Who in the world told you that this was a new show? We just decided to do this as a one-off. This is not going to be a new show. Never. As a matter of fact, I don't even think this might even hit the airwaves. Then why am I here? Why are you here? Why are you here? That is a great question. You're here to do the weather, Dan the Weatherman Stu, so go do the weather. Jeez. Questioning my actions all the time, will ya? All right. So for tonight, that's right, Tuesday night, it's gonna be a low of 29 degrees. Clear skies all around with winds going north, northeast at 4 miles per hour. And on Wednesday, another cloudy day for you, cause it's gonna be a high of 48, low of 38, mostly cloudy skies with winds going east, southeast at 13 miles per hour. And on Thursday, disco weather with a little bit of rain, cause it's gonna be a high of 71, low of 54. Morning showers at 48% with winds going south, southwest at 13 miles per hour. And on Friday, start of the weekend, nuevo, cause it's gonna be a high of 65, low of 44. Morning showers at 44% with winds going north, northwest at 8 miles per hour. And on Saturday, the rain returns, cause it's gonna be a high of 48, low of 42. Light rain showers at 72% with winds going 11 miles per hour in the east direction. And on Sunday, not a sunny day at all, cause it's gonna be a high of 63, low of 44. Showers all around at 59% with winds going southwest at 10 miles per hour. And now you know, cause I'm gonna go, because I am Dan the Weatherman Stu and I am through for the weather broadcast for this week. And now back to the man who's holding a giant moon ball in his hand, DJ Smokey for the Moonlight Special. The name is very catchy. Well, Dan the Weatherman Stu, I'm glad you like the name, but at the same time, I really don't think it's gonna stick. I mean, it's a good name for the show, but I got a feeling we're gonna have to get it cleared and make sure that nobody took it already. It's a lot of paperwork, and unless you know a guy, don't worry, DJ Smokey, I know a guy. He can help us out by next week. That's what I'm Stu out to go find him. Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. There's no way in the world we're going to be able to pull this off. Why in the world are you trying to find a guy we can't find? And he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. And I'm not even going to worry about it because there's no way in the world he's going to find a guy to clear this show name. But besides trying to get cool show names cleared according to Dan the Weatherman Stu, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the Moonlight Report as the Moonlight Special rolls on right after this. So don't fall asleep just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Alright, all you Streetlight Crusaders and Stargazers out there, welcome back to the Moonlight Special. And according to Carl and the Maestro, they just looked it up, and yeah, according to them, apparently Ray Stevens had a song called the Moonlight Special that they're gonna wrap up this show with. Oh, cool. Which means that this show can no longer exist. Yeah, somebody probably already got the copyright to it. Darn it. But besides another one of my ideas that I didn't check up on before we decided to go through with this show, I think it's time for us to go into one of my favorite parts of the show, folks. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, a newly named but critically acclaimed edition of the Moonlight Report, which is me giving you guys 2 news stories followed up by local content information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And in our first news story under these bright moonlights, we would see for you fans out there who are hoping and chomping at the bit that the film of the Coyote versus Acme was gonna finally be brought to the forefront. Well, I have some good news for you. Because after the film was scrapped by Warner Brothers, it would immediately get picked up by Catch-Up Entertainment after what happened to the film of The Day the Earth Blew Up, which was another film that Warner Brothers decided to drop. But at the same time, they would decide to take hold of that said film and bring it to said theaters by next year. Nice! Now, the fact that they were able to save this said film is absolutely awesome, and when it finally comes out as of next year, that'll definitely be a movie I will make my way to the theaters to go and see, because I really wanted to see this film, really did. I just hope it does well in the box office and proves the people over at Warner Brothers wrong that they were able to just get rid of it. And Catch-Up Entertainment will go on records by saying, "We're thrilled to have made a deal with Warner Brothers Pictures to bring this film to audiences worldwide. Coyote vs. Acme is a perfect blend of nostalgia and modern storytelling, capturing the essence of the beloved Looney Tunes characters while introducing them to a new generation. We believe it will resonate with both longtime fans and newcomers alike." Yeah, and I would have to agree with that statement. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the cool news of them acquiring this said film finally after it being shelved, then you can go ahead and head on over to the website known as HollywoodReporter.com to check it out for yourselves. And in other news, and more or less April Fool's news that was actually true, Because for you fans out there who saw Adult Swim last night and had a chance to see the Rick and Morty live action theatrical version of that said show, it would come with a bit of a surprise. Because by the end of it, it would say the following: "We hope you enjoyed our theatrical interpretations of Rick and Morty, especially if you are well off, impulsive, and want to go back to Broadway version of the show. For the rest of you, we're glad you know when season 8 is starting, so you have plenty of time to stretch and get loose because the team has yet again made a totally great season of television." And I got a feeling this next upcoming season of Rick and Morty is gonna answer a lot of unanswered questions from the season prior. And Carla the Maestro said, "Didn't I say that last year?" No, because I didn't even know when the last season came out. And with that said, folks, if you guys want to go ahead and check out when in the world this next upcoming season of Rick and Morty will be releasing, then you can head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Adult Swim to check it out for yourselves. But for those who can't wait for that, you can also check out the Season 8 premiere, which will premiere as of May 25th of 2025. Which I think was about a year, or not even a year, a month before the other season that came out. I could be wrong. But besides all that, folks, I think it's time for us to head directly into the concert information for this week, and we kick things off with none other than April Fool's Day. And completely unrelated to the actual April Fool's Day that is currently going on as we speak, according to Carl and the Maestro. And wait, according to Carl and the Maestro, it is not April 1st we're reviewing, it's April 2nd. So I guess it is an April Fool's joke. But the first band we have up is Fresh Breath, who's going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 4:30 p.m. Pierce Batiste is going to be performing at the Swallow Hill Music in Denver, Colorado at 5:30 p.m. Alyssa JC, nice hat by the way, is going to be performing at the Duran and Lindsay in Nashville, Tennessee at 6 p.m. MC Light is going to be performing at the City Winery in Nashville, Tennessee at 6 p.m. Scotty Combs is going to be performing at the Commodore Grill in Nashville, Tennessee at 6 p.m. Lever is going to be performing at the Cobra Lounge in Chicago, Illinois at 7 p.m. Jamie is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. Rock Island is going to be performing at the Luna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 7:30 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Wednesday night, you could see Shari Haruto Band, who's going to be performing at the Mint in Los Angeles, California at 8 p.m. And on Thursday, April 3rd, you could see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. The C4 Band is going to be performing at the Bobby Idol Hour Tavern in Nashville, Tennessee at 12:30 p.m. Mitration Soil is going to be performing at the Humphreys Backstage in San Diego, California at 6 p.m. White Rabbit OBJ is going to be performing at the Cobra Lounge in Chicago, Illinois at 7 p.m. Southern Disposition is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. Sky Vega with the Sky Band, nice band name, is going to be performing at the Shrine World Music Venue in New York at 8 p.m. Patrice Pike is going to be performing at the Saxton Pub in Saxton, Texas. And according to Carl and the Maestro, an error they made that they thought I was going to read, but in actuality, Austin, Texas At 8 p.m., cut it out. Anyway, to continue things, folks, next band we have up is the Rob Gracia Band, who's going to be performing at the Luna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas. At 8 p.m., the Highland Divas, nice band name, is going to be performing at the Cutting Room in New York, New York. At 9 p.m., and to finally wrap things up for Thursday night, you can see Rivercat, who's going to be performing at the Terra Firmata Kiki Bar in Stuart, Florida at 8 p.m. And on Tuesday for next week, which will be the 8th of April, you can see these following bands performing in a local area live near you. Palomero is going to be performing at the Mac Restaurant Nightclub in Eugene, Oregon at 5 p.m. Nate Nielsen Acoustic is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. Sherryland Hawk with Pastor Greg Spencer is both going to be performing at the Steamworks Creative in Gibsonia, Pennsylvania at 7 p.m. Marty Seymour is going to be performing at the Froggies in Virginia Beach, Virginia at 7 p.m. Border Soul is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 7:30 p.m. Jimmy Griswold is going to be performing at the Bowsers in Dunedin, Florida at 8 p.m. Grayson is going to be performing at the Hard Rock Cafe in Nashville, Tennessee at 9 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Tuesday for next week and all the bands we're going to mention for this week, you can see Autodrone with Zeb D, who's going to be performing at the Mercury Lounge in New York, New York at 9 p.m. And if you guys and gals out there want to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast, and trust me folks, there were a lot of them, you can head on over to ReverbNation.com to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast. And while you're over there, check out a couple of their cool tunes. Trust me, they're worth the listen. And like we say at the end of all of these skits, go out there, support your local artists, and see these guys perform live. And trust me, they'll love you for it. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music one more time. And when we return, we go into the final segment for the Moonlight Special right after this. So don't fall asleep under the moonlight just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, Paul, you stargazers and insomniacs who are still up for tonight, seeing the fact that we're fresh out of coffee, streetlight crusading oil, and of course music to play a part of this show, we might as well bring the Moonlight Special for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you guys and gals out there missed this once-in-a-lifetime show that we were able to bring to you from out of nowhere seemingly, then you can go ahead and catch it again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages, still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio. And for those out there who happen to miss all the musical goodness we were able to include and want to catch it again, well, you can catch it again tomorrow morning as of 10 a.m. according to Carl and the Maestro. Well, apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, they didn't say 10 a.m., they meant 10 p.m. tomorrow. A part of our live 365 page, only known as Music Village Radio, under the hashtag Tuesday Night Special 533. And yes, we are still counting this as the Tuesday Night Special because the tape got eaten halfway through the intro and we had to fill in the blanks with, some Streetlight Delight. And if you guys and gals out there want to figure out what the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this month of Fools, like an April Fool's joke that brought a show that we had as an idea to life from out of left field, then you can go ahead and head on over to our Discord, YouTube, and Twitter pages, still all named the same, only known as CWAgent 0012. And before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you, the stargazers and streetlight crusaders out there, for listening in to a very special foolhardy April Fool's joke brought to life edition of the Moonlight Special. And if you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like one of the characters after answering the phone during the TV show Crank Yankers. And Carl and the Maestro said, you mean the one with the football helmet? No, not that guy, the other one. The other one with the cool looking hair. Yeah, they know which one I'm talking about. And the PR department over there with all the puppets from Crank Yankers over in the corner too, just in case we forgot which one it was. And thank you guys. Thanks. And before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, also outside of you Streetlight Crusaders and Insomniacs out there, you the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys. And here's hoping your music gets featured during a show that we decide to bring to life from an April Fool's joke that should have happened last year. Yeah, and why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. That's why. And speaking of people's musical talents that we believe in to be a part of this good old-fashioned April Fool's joke that might not happen again by next year, we would like to thank our musical guest, none other than Tekno AXE, with his said song of Walking It Back that was featured during the intro for this week's edition of the show. And of course, for his song of the Ragtag March that was featured during this week's As Seen on TV. And alongside with him, we would like to thank our musical guest that's going to be wrapping things up for tonight, Dragon Spit, with their said song of Dragon Attack that will be closing things out for tonight. Yeah, and they're getting tuned up right now if you're wondering at home. So yeah, can't wait to hear you guys. And finally, on the music side, we would like to thank none other than Carl and the Maestro with their said song of Lunar Awakening. That's wrapping things up as we speak for this week's edition of the Moonlight Special. And to all you musical artists out there, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And alongside with them, we would like to give a very special thanks to Mikey K of 101.5 The Disco Hawk for being a part of this show for the intro. And finally, last but not least, would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet, sweet video game hits and clips we had a chance to mention during this week's show. And like always, guys, keep them coming, because you never know what show might be coming around the corner next, or whatever sort of Wile E. Coyote idea we got written down on paper that will bring a show to life that will need your games. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there, how we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and most importantly for Mikey K, and for the PR department in attendance, and for you up all-nighters, late-night drivers, insomniac TV watchers, gamers, grapplers, stargazers, and those who are over the moon about a show that we happen to bring to life after a year of trying to bring it to the table, saying, yay! But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we'll see you guys next week for a very special Streetlight Foolhardy Delight edition of the Tuesday Night Special. But until then, good night from the Moonlight Special. And as always, go get some sleep, and good night, everybody.